what a 105-year-old woman whispered before a statue of the Virgin Mary swelled her granddaughter's heart. With unexpected emotion. 3 simple words. Yet they held the power to alter the course of their lives forever. A miracle of faith, ignited by a humble request on a quiet Saturday morning. Before we unfold this sacred tale, let me know where you're joining us from and the hour of your day. It's heartening to see how far and wide the love of the Virgin Mary reaches. Margaret was 105 years old. 105. Can you imagine the tapestry of history she had woven? Through her life, the joys, the sorrows, the triumphs and the losses, Margaret had seen them all. Nestled in a small nursing home in New Orleans for the past decade, she had clung to her independence until her 90s. She was the kind of woman who insisted on tending her garden and baking her famous apple pies from scratch, even as the years advanced. Yet, time is relentless. At 105, Margaret spent her days in a quiet corner of the home, often gazing out the window, her fingers wrapped around a rosary, its beads worn smooth by generations of prayer. This rosary, a family heirloom, was her steadfast companion, a source of solace passed down from her mother and grandmother. Margaret would often say that the rosary had never let her down, leaving her family to quietly ponder the depth of her faith. Every morning at 7, the nurse would gently knock and enter Margaret's room. "Good morning, Mrs. Margaret. Would you like to join us for breakfast?" But Margaret rarely responded, her focus drawn to the world beyond. The glass, her fingers methodically caressing the rosary beads, her lips barely moving in silent prayer. The nurse, familiar with Margaret's preference for solitude, would softly retreat, respecting her need for quiet. Reflection over communal company. Margaret's family believed she was preparing for her final farewell, but they misunderstood. She wasn't saying goodbye. She was waiting, holding out for something only she seemed to anticipate. In the quiet halls of the nursing home, Margaret, a centenarian with a tapestry of life experiences, is depicted as a bastion of resilience and faith. Her family, seeing her daily routine of prayer and solitude, mistakenly believes she is readying herself for her last journey. Yet Margaret is not bidding the world adieu. She is waiting patiently for a divine sign. Her granddaughter Sarah emerges as her closest confidant, the strong bond between them a testament to years of shared love and understanding. As we delve deeper into the sacred bond between Margaret and her granddaughter Sarah, we uncover the profound connection forged through years of unwavering love and mutual respect. This particular Saturday visit to see the Virgin Mary is more than a simple outing. It marks the beginning of an awe-inspiring journey that will redefine their understanding of faith, love, and miracles. Let us now turn back the pages of time to explore the events that led to this extraordinary day, a day that would forever alter their lives. The morning sun crept timidly over the horizon, casting its gentle light across the small town where Margaret and Sarah lived. The air was crisp, imbued with a sense of freshness that only a new day could bring. Yet, for Sarah, this Saturday morning held an unusual weight. She had been startled awake by the shrill ring of the telephone, its sound slicing through the tranquility of dawn. On the other end, Margaret's voice was more vibrant than usual, filled with an urgency that roused Sarah from her sleepy days. "Sarah, dear," Margaret's voice came through, resolute and unwavering. "I need you to take me to see the Virgin Mary today." Sarah, still groggy and wrapped in the comfort of her bed, blinked in confusion. This was not a typical request. From her grandmother, whose days were usually spent in quiet contemplation and gentle routines. Margaret had always been a woman of deep faith, but rarely did she express such immediacy. "Is everything all right, Grandma?" Sarah asked, a note of concern threading through her words. "Yes, my child. Everything is as it should be. But I feel a calling, a need to be in her presence," Margaret replied, her voice laced with a serene determination. Though puzzled, Sarah felt a familiar pull at her heart. It was the same instinct that had guided her through countless childhood escapades with her grandmother, a silent understanding that transcended words. Without hesitation, she agreed. "All right, Grandma. I'll be there soon." As Sarah prepared for the day, her mind buzzed with questions. What was this sudden calling her grandmother felt? Why today of all days? Yet, beneath her curiosity lay a deep-seated trust in Margaret's spiritual intuition. This request, strange as it was, seemed anchored in something profoundly meaningful. The drive to the church was a tapestry of contrasting emotions. The morning unfolded around them, the world, waking up to its usual rhythm. Yet inside the car, an air of sacred anticipation enveloped them. Margaret sat in quiet reflection, her fingers gently tracing the beads of her rosary, lips moving silently in prayer. Her eyes, though clouded with age, shone with a clarity and purpose that gave Sarah a sense of peace and trepidation all at once. "Grandma, can you tell me more about this feeling you have?" Sarah ventured, her voice breaking the silence that had settled between them. Margaret paused, her eyes lifting from the rosary to meet Sarah's in the rearview mirror. "It's hard to explain, dear. It's as if the Holy Spirit whispered into my heart. I just know that I need to be with her today. It's a feeling that's too strong to ignore." Sarah nodded, trying to reconcile her grandmother's words with the world she knew. The Catholic teachings of her youth, the stories of saints and miracles, all seemed to take on a new light. She thought of the Virgin Mary, whose presence had always been a source of comfort and inspiration in Margaret's life. Perhaps this journey was another chapter in their shared faith, a moment that would reveal itself in time. As they neared the church, a small yet beautiful structure nestled amidst towering oak trees, Sarah felt a subtle change in the air. The church stood as a beacon of solace and divinity, its steeple reaching toward the heavens. It was a place where earthly concerns seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet reverence for the sacred. Margaret's demeanor shifted as they approached. Her earlier urgency transformed into a quiet grace, a calm acceptance of whatever lay ahead. As Sarah parked the car, she watched her grandmother with a mixture of awe and affection. Margaret had always been her spiritual anchor, a living testament to a life of unwavering faith. Inside the church, the atmosphere was serene, the gentle light of candles flickering in tandem with the morning sun filtering through stained glass windows. The scent of incense lingered in the air, a reminder of the many prayers that had been uttered within these walls. Margaret walked slowly, her steps deliberate yet light, as if guided by an unseen force. They approached the statue of the Virgin Mary, a resplendent figure adorned with fresh flowers and flickering votive candles. Margaret knelt, her eyes closed in deep prayer, her hands clasped tightly together. Sarah stood beside her, feeling the weight of the moment. She watched as her grandmother's face softened, a serene smile gracing her lips, as if in conversation with Mary herself. "Blessed Mother," Margaret whispered, her voice barely audible, "I am here as you have called me. Guide me, teach me, and let your will be done." Sarah, though an observer, felt the energy of the moment, a palpable presence that filled the space around them. It was a reminder of the divine mysteries she had often pondered, the unseen forces that guided their lives with a gentle hand. As Margaret continued her silent communion, Sarah found herself reflecting on the Catholic teachings that had shaped her upbringing. She thought of the saints, ordinary people called to extraordinary lives through their faith. Perhaps this was Margaret's calling, a moment of grace that would illuminate the path ahead for both of them. After what felt like an eternity, Margaret rose, her expression one of peace and fulfillment. She looked at Sarah, her eyes shining with a renewed vitality. "Thank you, my dear. I know this must have seemed strange, but I feel ready now." Sarah embraced her grandmother, feeling the warmth of her love and faith wrap around her like a comforting blanket. "I'm glad we came, Grandma. Whatever this journey is, I'm here with you." As they left the church, the world outside seemed brighter, as if touched by the divine encounter they had just experienced. The drive home was filled with a quiet contentment, the earlier anxiety replaced with a sense of purpose. Sarah knew that the day would unfold in its own time, guided by the faith and love that bound them together. In the days to come, Sarah would find herself reflecting on this moment, the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The mystery of her grandmother's calling would linger, a reminder of the divine urgency that had brought them closer to the heart of their faith. As they navigated the unknown, the bond between them would serve as a guiding light, illuminating the path ahead with the promise of miracles yet to come. As the sun began its gentle descent, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Sarah and Margaret arrived once more at the church, a sacred place that had begun to feel like a second home. The air was crisp with the scent of autumn leaves, and the sky above was a serene expanse of blue, untouched by clouds. They walked up the stone path, their steps in unison, as if guided by an invisible hand. Upon entering the church, they were greeted by the familiar warmth of flickering candlelight. The sanctuary was quiet, the kind of silence that invites introspection and prayer. Margaret moved with a sense of purpose, her hands clasped in reverence as she approached the statue of the Virgin Mary. Her eyes were bright with an inner light, as if she were on the verge of unveiling a sacred truth. Sarah followed her grandmother, feeling the weight of the moment pressing gently but insistently upon her heart. As Margaret knelt before the statue, Sarah was suddenly enveloped in an inexplicable scent of roses, fragrance so vivid and pure that it seemed to transcend the physical world. It was as though the very essence of divine love had manifested around them, wrapping them in a celestial embrace. Margaret's prayers were a soft murmur, a melody of devotion that seemed to resonate with the very walls of the church. Sarah stood beside her, the scent of roses lingering like a benediction. She felt a stirring within her soul, a gentle yet insistent call to surrender her own burdens. "Sarah," Margaret spoke, her voice a gentle whisper that carried the weight of wisdom. Her gaze met Sarah's, eyes that seemed to pierce through the layers of doubt and uncertainty that had clouded her heart. "Kneel with me," Margaret urged, her words a tender invitation. Without hesitation, Sarah knelt beside her grandmother, her heart opening like a flower in bloom. The weight of her silent struggles, her fears and doubts, felt suddenly unbearable yet ready to be released. As she bowed her head, words began to pour from her lips, prayers of longing, of sorrow, of hope. "I've been so afraid, Grandma," Sarah confessed, her voice catching in her throat. "Afraid of what the future holds, of what I'm supposed to do. I feel so lost sometimes, like I'm wandering without direction." Margaret reached for Sarah's hand, her touch a balm of comfort and strength. "Faith is not the absence of fear, my dear, but the courage to trust in the midst of it," she said softly. "We are never truly lost when we place our trust in divine love. It is a light that guides us through the darkest nights." Sarah felt the truth of her grandmother's words resonate deep within her. The fragrance of roses seemed to intensify, a reminder of the holy presence that surrounded them. In that sacred moment, Sarah experienced a miraculous shift within her heart, a profound sense of hope and peace that she had never known before. The church, once a place of tradition and ritual, had transformed into a sanctuary of divine encounter. It was as if the very air was alive with the whispers of angels, urging Sarah to let go of her fears and embrace the path laid before her. "Thank you, Grandma," Sarah said, her voice steady with newfound resolve, "for being here with me, for sharing your faith. I feel different, like I can finally breathe." Margaret smiled, her eyes reflecting a deep gratitude. "This journey we are on, it is guided by a higher purpose. Trust in it, Sarah, and you will find the strength to face whatever comes." Together, they remained in the quiet of the church, their prayers a tapestry of gratitude and surrender. Sarah felt a sense of belonging, a connection not only to her grandmother but to something infinitely greater. She realized that her struggles, once a source of isolation, were now an integral part of her spiritual journey. As they rose to leave, the world outside greeted them with the gentle glow of twilight. The drive home was filled with a serene silence, a shared understanding that words could not capture. Sarah felt her heart lightened, her spirit renewed, and she knew that this was only the beginning of a deeper exploration of faith and love. In the days that followed, the memory of that evening remained vivid in Sarah's mind, a touchstone of hope and grace. She found herself drawn to the church more often, seeking the solace and strength it offered. The scent of roses would occasionally grace her senses, a reminder of the divine presence that walked with her. Margaret, too, seemed to carry herself with an increased vigor, her faith a beacon that illuminated their shared path. Together, they delved into discussions of scripture and prayer, their conversations rich with insight and understanding. The bond between them grew ever stronger, a testament to the miraculous power of faith to transform and heal. As they navigated the unfolding of their journey, Sarah began to see the world through new eyes. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable now appeared as opportunities for growth and learning. She felt a deepening connection to her own spirituality, a calling to explore the mysteries of faith and to share the light she had found. The divine urgency that had drawn them to the church that day continued to guide them, a reminder that their story was part of a larger tapestry woven by the Creator's hand. And as they moved forward, each step lit by the promise of miracles yet to come, Sarah knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united by the enduring power of love and faith. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the town, Sarah found herself back in the rhythm of her daily life. The familiar sights and sounds surrounded her, yet everything felt different. There was a new energy within her, a quiet yet profound shift that she couldn't quite put into words. It was as if the encounter at the church had awakened something dormant within her, a deep longing for a life imbued with purpose and faith. Weeks passed, and Sarah immersed herself in her work and responsibilities. Yet the memory of that day lingered. Margaret's gentle words and the peace she had felt in the presence of the Virgin Mary stayed with her like a melody she couldn't forget. She began to notice small changes, a sense of calm in moments of chaos, an unexplainable joy that bubbled up at unexpected times, and a newfound patience with those around her. On a crisp morning, Sarah sat at her kitchen table, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. The soft light filtered through the window, casting gentle patterns on the walls. She opened her journal, a practice she had started after the church visit, and began to write. Her pen moved effortlessly over the pages, capturing her thoughts, prayers, and reflections. It was in these quiet moments that she felt closest to God, as if she were in a sacred dialogue with the divine. Her entries often began with gratitude, a newfound appreciation for the simple beauty of life, the laughter of a child, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, the kindness of a stranger. As she wrote, she felt a deepening connection to her own spirituality, an unfolding awareness of the divine presence in every aspect of her life. Was as though the Virgin Mary's intercession had opened her heart to the miraculous, allowing her to see the world through eyes of faith. One afternoon, as Sarah walked through the park, she noticed the vibrant colors of the flowers, their petals open wide to the sun. A sense of wonder filled her, a reminder of creation's beauty and the Creator's hand in all things. She paused, closing her eyes and offering a silent prayer of thanksgiving. Her heart felt light, unburdened by the worries that once plagued her. But amidst the tranquility, a mystery began to unfold within her, a subtle whispering of change that she couldn't ignore. She felt a peculiar sensation, a warmth spreading through her body, and an inexplicable sense of fullness. Sarah dismissed it at first, attributing it to stress or fatigue. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, the feeling persisted, growing stronger and more insistent. One morning, as she prepared for work, a wave of dizziness washed over her. She grasped the edge of the sink, steadying herself, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Could it be? The thought, once unthinkable, now danced at the edges of her mind, challenging her disbelief. Later that day, Sarah confided in Margaret during their regular coffee meeting. The older woman listened intently, her eyes filled with understanding and compassion. "Sarah, sometimes the most miraculous things happen when we least expect them," Margaret said, her voice gentle yet firm. "Have faith. Trust in the Virgin Mary's intercession. Her love is infinite, and her miracles know no bounds." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with a mixture of hope and apprehension. That evening, she found herself in prayer, seeking guidance and clarity. Her words were simple, yet profound, a plea for strength, for understanding, and for the courage to embrace whatever lay ahead. A few days later, Sarah decided to take a pregnancy test, her hands trembling with anticipation. As she waited for the results, time seemed to stretch, each second laden with possibility. And then, there it was, a positive result, clear and undeniable. Tears sprang to her eyes, a cascade of emotions washing over her: joy, disbelief, gratitude, and awe. The news of her pregnancy felt like the culmination of a journey, a miraculous testament to the power of faith and prayer. Sarah's mind raced with questions, yet her heart was at peace, enveloped in the certainty that this was a gift from God, a blessing beyond measure. In the days that followed, Sarah shared the news with her closest friends and family, each conversation filled with tears and laughter. The support and love she received strengthened her resolve, affirming her belief in the miracle that had unfolded in her life. As she navigated this new chapter, Sarah felt a deepening connection to the Virgin Mary, whose gentle presence guided her through moments of doubt and fear. She found solace in the knowledge that she was not alone, that her journey was part of a greater plan, woven into the tapestry of life by the Creator's hand. In the quiet moments, Sarah would place her hand on her growing belly, whispering prayers of love and protection for the child she carried. She marveled at the miracle of creation, the sacred dance of life unfolding within her, and the profound mystery of God's love made manifest. As the chapter of her life turned, Sarah embraced the unknown with an open heart, trusting in the promise of miracles yet to come. The bond between her and Margaret grew stronger, a testament to the faith that had brought them together. Together, they continued their journey, united by the enduring power of love and the miraculous grace that had transformed their lives. The days passed in a blur of anticipation and preparation, each moment a reminder of the miracle that had taken root in her heart and life. And as she looked to the future, Sarah knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with faith, love, and the unwavering belief in the miraculous power of God's grace. The morning sunlight filtered through the lace curtains, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor of Sarah's living room. She sat quietly, hands resting on her belly, feeling the gentle flutter of life within her. It was a moment of profound peace and gratitude, a sacred pause in the midst of life's relentless pace. Her heart swelled with an overwhelming sense of thankfulness, for the miracle she carried was both a gift and a promise, a testament to the enduring grace of God. Margaret entered the room, her face a canvas of warmth and wisdom. She had been like a mother to Sarah, guiding her with a gentle hand and an open heart through the twists and turns of life's journey. Seeing Sarah, she smiled, her eyes reflecting a deep understanding that transcended words. "How are you feeling today, dear?" Margaret asked, settling into the chair beside Sarah. "I'm grateful," Sarah replied, her voice soft yet steady. "Grateful for this life, for this miracle, and for you, Margaret." Margaret reached over, her hand enveloping Sarah's in a gesture of solidarity and love. "God's blessings are often unexpected, yet they come at the perfect time," she said, her voice carrying the weight of years of faith and experience. "This child is a blessing, Sarah, a new beginning for you and a continuation of the love and faith that binds us." Sarah nodded, tears of joy welling in her eyes. "I was afraid at first," she confessed, "afraid of the unknown, of the responsibility. But now I feel nothing but gratitude. This child has already taught me so much about faith and trust." As they talked, the room seemed to fill with a sacred presence, a divine whisper that spoke to the heart of both women. They sat in silence for a while, letting the moment settle into their souls. each aware of the profound journey that lay ahead. "I want to share the news with the family," Sarah said after a while, her voice filled with determination and joy. "I want them to know about this gift, this new beginning." Margaret nodded approvingly. "Family is the foundation of our faith, the first community we belong to. Sharing your joy with them will only strengthen the bonds that hold you together." That evening, the family gathered around the dining table, the air buzzing with anticipation and warmth. The table was adorned with simple yet elegant decorations, and the aroma of home-cooked meals filled the room, mingling with laughter and conversation. As they settled into their chairs, Sarah stood, her heart pounding with excitement and a touch of nervousness. She looked around at the faces of her family, each a reflection of love and support, and took a deep breath. "I have something to share with all of you," Sarah began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I am expecting a child, a miracle that has already brought so much joy and gratitude into my life." There was a moment of stunned silence, followed by an eruption of cheers and congratulations. Her family rose from their seats, enveloping her in hugs and words of love and encouragement. It was a moment of pure joy, a celebration of life and the promise of new beginnings. Her mother, eyes brimming with tears, held Sarah close. "Oh, my dear, what a blessing this is. A grandchild. Can't express how happy I am for you." Her father, usually a man of few words, simply nodded, his eyes shining with pride and emotion. "We're here for you, Sarah, whatever you need." As the evening unfolded, stories were shared, laughter echoed through the room, and the bonds of family grew ever stronger. Margaret watched from her place at the table, her heart full as she witnessed the fruition of years of prayer and faith. Later, as the evening drew to a close, Sarah and Margaret found themselves alone on the porch, the cool night air wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. The stars twinkled above, a reminder of the vastness of creation and the intricate ways in which God works. "Thank you, Margaret," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, "for everything. Couldn't have come this far without your guidance and love." Margaret smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "You have always had the strength within you, Sarah. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us of our own light." They sat in silence for a few moments, each lost in their thoughts, yet deeply connected in spirit. The future was uncertain, as it always is, but Sarah felt ready to embrace it with faith and love, knowing she was supported by her family and the grace of God. As they turned to go inside, Sarah paused, looking up at the vast, starry sky. "Whatever the future holds," she said, her voice filled with conviction, "I know that it will be filled with love, faith, and the miraculous grace of God." Margaret nodded, her heart full. "And that, my dear, is the greatest gift of all." Together, they stepped back into the warmth of the house, the door closing softly behind them. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, a journey of faith, love, and new beginnings, guided by the light of God's enduring grace. Sarah stood at the entrance of the old stone church, her heart a blend of nostalgia and peace. It had been 5 years since that night under the starry sky, when she and Margaret had spoken of faith and the miraculous grace of God. Much had changed since then, and yet, standing here now, it felt as though time had folded in on itself, bringing her back to where it all began. Beside her, clutching her hand tightly, was her daughter, Grace. The little girl gazed up at the church with wide eyes, her innocence and curiosity reminding Sarah of her younger self. Together they stepped through the heavy doors, their footsteps echoing softly in the hallowed space. The familiar scent of incense greeted them, mingling with the faint whiff of polished wood and aged stone. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting vibrant patterns across the pews. Sarah paused, closing her eyes for a moment to soak in the sacred atmosphere, feeling the gentle embrace of the divine. "Mommy, is this where Grandma used to come?" Grace's voice rose in a whisper, filled with reverence. "Yes, sweetheart," Sarah replied, opening her eyes and leading Grace further inside. "This is where she came, to pray and find peace. It's a special place." As they approached the front of the church, Sarah's gaze fell upon the statue of the Virgin Mary, her serene face a beacon of love and compassion. Memories flooded back of Margaret's unwavering faith, her prayers, whispered in the quiet of dawn, and the strength she drew from her devotion. 5 years had passed since Margaret's passing, years that had been filled with both challenges and blessings. Sarah had grown in her own faith, guided by the legacy her mother had left behind. She had learned to lean on prayer, to find solace in the teachings of Christ, and to trust in the presence of the Virgin Mary, whose gentle intercession had become a source of comfort and hope. "Can we say a prayer, Mommy?" Grace asked, her voice pulling Sarah back to the present. "Of course, my love," Sarah replied, smiling down at her daughter. Together they knelt before the statue, their hands clasped in prayer. In that moment, as Grace began her simple prayer, the narrative of their lives came full circle. Sarah watched, her daughter, her heart swelling with gratitude and awe. Grace's voice was soft but earnest, her words a testament to the innocence and purity of a child's faith. "Dear Mary, thank you for watching over us. Please keep us safe and help us to be kind and loving just like Grandma Margaret was." As Grace finished her prayer, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. The church, with its walls steeped in history and holiness, seemed to breathe in the rhythm of their shared devotion. It was as if the prayers of countless souls before them echoed in the silence, joining their own in an eternal chorus of faith. Sarah wrapped an arm around Grace, pulling her close. "You know, sweetheart," she said, her voice gentle and filled with emotion, "your Grandma Margaret taught me so much about love and faith. She believed that the Virgin Mary was always with us, guiding us and protecting us. I see that same faith in you." Grace looked up at her mother, her eyes bright with understanding. "I feel it too, Mommy. It's like a warm hug from Mary." Sarah smiled, her heart full. "Yes, exactly like that." They sat in silence for a few moments, the tranquility of the church enveloping them. Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her here, one defined by love, faith, and the miraculous grace of God. She thought of the struggles and triumphs, the moments of doubt and the unwavering belief that had carried her through. Through it all, Margaret's presence had remained, a steadfast guide in spirit if not in body. As they rose to leave, Sarah took one last look at the statue of the Virgin Mary, a silent promise on her lips. She would continue to nurture this legacy of faith, passing it on to Grace, just as Margaret had passed it on to her. It was a gift beyond measure, a light that would shine through the generations, illuminating their path with the love of the divine. Outside, the world awaited them, vibrant and full of promise. Sarah and Grace stepped back into the sunlight, their spirits lifted by the sacred encounter. The future, with all its uncertainties, felt less daunting, knowing they were supported by faith and the loving presence of the Virgin Mary as they walked hand in hand. Sarah spoke softly to her daughter, their steps a rhythmic cadence on the cobblestone path. "Remember, my darling, no matter where life takes us, we are never alone. Our faith is our strength, and the love of the Virgin Mary is always with us." Grace nodded, her face a picture of serene confidence. "I know, Mommy, and I'll always pray just like Grandma taught you." In that moment, Sarah knew that Margaret's legacy of faith was secure. It was alive in the heart of her daughter, a testament to the enduring power of love and belief. As they continued their journey, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope and encouragement, a whisper of divine assurance that miracles were always possible, woven into the very fabric of their lives. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of gold and crimson. Sarah and Grace walked on, their hearts light, their spirits buoyed by the promise of new beginnings. The story of their lives a tapestry of faith, love, and grace unfurled before them, inviting them to trust, to believe, and to embrace the miraculous journey that lay ahead. Before you go, share with us in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it where you are right now? It's beautiful to see how a lifetime of faith and a quiet miracle can reach hearts across the world, at every hour. If Margaret's story moved you, subscribe for more testimonies of faith, hope, and the Virgin Mary's loving presence.